Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is CM Alexander with the news. In health news, with spring around the corner, allergies are not far behind. This week, Derry Home Hospital is offering free allergy tests to the community. Discover if you carry the genes for allergies to pollen, shellfish, gold, or moonlight filtered through the shattered prism of an ancient crystal. Make your appointment and discover your weaknesses today. You're listening to Derry Public Radio. This is Derry Public Radio. Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, bi-weekly Stephen King Book Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, CM Alexander, alongside Joshua Kahn.
Hey, everybody.
And Eve Gatto.
Hi, constant readers.
And today we are back, just like we planned this whole time, with part 2 of American Vampire, where we are finishing book 1, and Josh is leading our discussion.
I sure am. Once again, thank you, Cody Tucker, for this Patreon selection. I actually texted Cody today and said, hey, the first episode's coming out soon. Spoiler alert, fuck you at how much I like it. Ratings.
This is why, listeners, you should reach out to us and be our friends, because it's a kind of quality interaction you can expect.
I will shit talk you to you, yeah. We're going to kick back. We covered the Stephen King story of Skinner Sweet in our first half. Now we're going to pick back up in Act 3 of Pearl's story, which is called Rough Cut. Quick reminder of where we left Pearl. She was taken to a Hollywood party, fed to some vampires. Skinner Sweet broke into her room on the 4th of July, gave her a little blood kiss on the eye, and now she's a vampire.
Nice rhyme.
Thank you. I did not intend it. And as a present, Skinner Sweet gave her Chase Hamilton, who was the man who brought her to the party. And she ripped him apart pretty sufficiently. So as we get back with her, we see Pearl in the apartment she shares with her roommate Hattie after just having ripped Chase apart and left him in his dressing room. Knowing what we know now, how do you feel about this conversation? Because Hattie wakes up and Pearl is in her room, and it's a little scary. And because everybody thought Pearl was going to be dead soon, and she is in Hattie's room with an envelope of money saying, go. If your roommate woke you up.
Well, no, I mean, it makes me angry because Pearl is in this horrible situation. This terrible thing happened to her. Her entire life is completely changed, and she just puts other people first. She's still trying to take care of other people and think about them.
The fact that she does this when every other vampire we have seen would have just come in, torn their heads off, and lived in this blood-soaked house, it kind of shows us who Pearl is.
It also shows us that with these vampires, this change does not cause you to become a different person all of a sudden. It's there's not like, because sometimes
that's a great way to show
people lose their
that.
humanity as vampires in some lore, and not this one. If you're a piece of shit, probably gonna be a piece of shit anyway, and if you're cool, you're gonna be cool.
Now, across town, we get the older vampires who were part of this Hollywood party. We get a discussion about their relationship with Sweet. And we referenced last episode that there is a treaty because they don't know how to kill Sweet. So treaty is the best move.
And just to note, these vampires are, of course, the same vampires that attacked Pearl and threw her in the desert.
And with this treaty, they're discussing about whether they should keep it or not because they know Sweet is nearby and a moonless night is coming up. We talked a little bit about the moonless night effect last episode, and they're worried Skinner will do something drastic, possibly aligning with the Vassals, which is the first time we ever hear about this group until a few books later, the Vassals of the Morning Star. How did you feel about this organization being slipped in right here?
It happened early enough that I did not catch it.
Oh, yeah?
I read it, and I immediately wrote it off as like, oh, this is something that'll come up in a later arc, and I don't need to worry about it right now, and forgot it happened.
Now, the vampires decide to just destroy Pearl. That seems to be the only move. So they send a young couple, Edgar and Lucia, to investigate the death of Chase Hamilton and figure out what to do next. But their car ride with their daywalker driver doesn't go super well. CM, how does that drive end?
It ends Mad Max style.
Absolutely.
Pearl is a badass.
She really is. She rips the car apart, rips them apart. But my favorite thing is that the guy, she rips his face off. And when the car crashes, he's starting to crawl away under an umbrella.
Oh, I forgot about, yeah.
And she fucking stakes him on a broken fence post. And then the other girl who is inside the car, she's just like, I could just kill you now, but it's almost sundown. We'll see how this goes.
And then she blows up, right?
No, she drags her to a cactus.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, because of the wood.
Yeah,
the wood and the cactus sticky things. What are
Needles?
they called? Needles, oh my gosh. Anyway.
They're modified leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are technically wood, which, what a creative way. I've never seen vampires destroyed by a cactus.
We're going to get a lot of creative wood in this book.
Yeah. I am always getting creative wood. So is there a part of like traditional vampire lore that the type of wood matters?
Not that I remember ever.
Okay, because I feel like that's something.
I could see that being a thing. I haven't come across it for vampires.
Okay.
So I think I'm not a huge Harry Potter follower, but I think that's a thing with wands. So maybe that's more magic.
Yeah,
Isn't there a
that's
specific,
true.
like what the wand is made out of, and different types of wood would have different properties.
Which is a neat bit.
Yeah.
They should introduce that into Castlevania, an upgrade system.
That'd be rad. Later that night, after killing these two vampires, she visits Henry. We get some more Henry. And he very confidently says that nothing she says could shock him. Yep.
And that's closer to right than...
Yeah, honestly, that's true.
He is there. He's like, all right, yep, this is the rest of my life now.
Which is adorable. What did you guys think about the romance?
I stopped shipping her and Sweet
immediately.
Yeah, because I liked Henry from the start too, but I didn't know how involved in this he was going to be.
Exactly.
So I don't think I mentioned this last episode, but when he comes back into the picture before we wrapped that up, I was really pleased. It's like, yeah, he was a cool dude.
I really thought he was going to die.
I thought he was going to die the whole time. I kept, every time something happens, I'm like, they're going to kill Henry.
Well, the thing is, as the comic continues past what we're reading for the podcast, I've never seen a character so fated to die. That dude's donezo.
Yeah, he's going to die hard.
Yeah, because I love it. This like recurring theme of their relationship, and we'll get to it later when it explores them living together.
Yeah.
It's so
beautiful, romantic.
Way better than marrying your baby.
Yes.
Your friend's baby. Calm down.
You're right. I'm the asshole.
Yeah, it's just very romantic. I like it.
They spend the moonless night together, and they're woken up because Henry has received a phone call because Hattie has been taken hostage. The vampires are going to kill her unless they meet at the Hollywood sign on a moonless night. So realizing because Pearl is who Pearl is, there's no way she can leave Hattie to this sort of fate. Henry says, I'm in, let's do this together. She says, yeah, hand crank your car, and then drives off without him. Fucking great.
That's not going to stop him, though. Henry's always there for you.
So we go back to Act 4, which is called Double Exposure. And we get a flashback here to how Pearl and Hattie met. Would either one of you like to take us through how they met?
They initially meet in the diner where Pearl works. And I don't know, it's like a meet cute for friends.
Yeah, it really is.
Where they just get to know each other because Hattie comes in there and can never like pay for her whole donut or something. And Pearl kind of takes care of her, and they, hit it off. They like each other. And so it's such a natural and easy and believable thing when they're like, hey, let's be roommates.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And because we already like these two together at the beginning of the book, we talked about how awesome their friendship is.
Mhm.
And when you read this the first time through, you're like, oh yeah, they immediately hit it off. I am actually looking at the book right now, and there's a single panel where Hattie is walking away and Pearl is working at this restaurant. She says, have a happy egg of a day. And the face that Hattie is making is so disdainful. It is like, look
Ooh,
at
let me
this.
see.
Look at her. Tell me that face in retrospect is not Hattie going, this bitch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It is so subtle.
Missed it entirely.
Like half of her face, and she's looking behind her, facing away from Pearl, and just the look on her face is like, you've met people that are too happy, right?
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool because it sets it up and you're so excited, and it didn't clue any of us,
No,
I'm
yeah.
assuming,
Well, no.
You would
into the
also-
really effective double cross that's coming.
Your first time through, you could read it as like, oh my God, I can't believe she has to say that to everybody.
Or-
Eye
That's what
rolly.
I took it
Yeah.
as.
Or
Yeah.
it's this lady just gave me like a handout and I'm like a little bashful about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because she gives Pearl these movie tickets as a thank you for letting her slide on breakfast and like giving her like an extra cup of coffee kind of thing. And they both had talked about they're both new in town, all this
Mhm.
stuff. And Pearl, instead of taking the tickets, says, "Hey, do you want to go to a movie with me?
Mhm.
Let's go to this place because they have the hottest ushers."
That is so, like, I've done that. You know, not that exactly, but
Sure.
when you meet somebody and you're like, we're instant friends, you want to go do this friend thing together? Hot boys. It's like, it really speaks to, you know, having a girlfriend, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And now I'm so sad.
Now, in the present, Pearl arrives to the Hollywood sign to face off with these vampires. And BD, the producer, the leader of these vampires, basically says, we'll give you your friend back, but you're going to come with us, and we are going to spend every night stabbing you with every substance on this planet until we find out what you're weak to.
Okay, this is where I'm dumb, because I was like, if they really want to know so bad, why don't they just make another vampire like her? But then how would they do that? But my
Yeah.
immediate thought was make one and then test stuff on that one.
Yeah, but that one's still gonna be a person.
Well, no, that one would be their lineage.
I
So
guess.
no,
You
wait,
wouldn't
no,
wanna torture
wait,
your progeny.
Stop, hold on. No, let me retake that because I'm right.
Okay.
That's the most CN thing I've ever heard.
I might leave that in. I don't know.
Please do.
Okay, if they want to know so badly what can kill an American vampire, why don't they make one and use that one instead of, like, they wouldn't need Pearl or Hattie. It just seems like they're taking the long way there, and it would be much more efficient to make one to torture themselves instead of trying to get, and I know there's more to it, but I mean, the bottom line is they want to know what their weaknesses are because they're after Skinner.
Yeah.
So,
So I want to circle all the way back to something
okay.
that was kind of a problem for me from the very start of this whole series.
Mhm.
We've discussed the genealogy, the way the different vampires are whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Skinner Sweet's family came from somewhere in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Like-
I think I was tying this to evolution over time, and I know it's called American Vampire, so maybe I was just overlooking what that meant, but I assumed that any vampire made recently, like, there's a mutation or just an evolution, and that's why you have different types of vampires.
Personally.
Because a European vampire made Skinner,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
and so I assumed, I didn't think it was because we were on American soil.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Is
about
that
Skinner's
it?
blood. Skinner's
think
blood
his-
changed him. Like, it made him a vampire, but
I really tried so hard to make this work.
Well, but my headcanon that fixed it was thinking that, 1/18th Native American. I don't know.
What I assumed was that it's a metaphor for the new world.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know
yeah, but
yeah,
it, like,
no, I
it is.
just-
I mean, it is, but how, like, the very real differences in, like, the sunlight and how they
Because-
react to
yeah.
things. Like,
Yeah.
what makes those changes happen if
Right.
he had Percy's blood and he's not like Percy?
Right. So
But
the
you think
only
it's
way,
him specifically.
So the only way they could make another one is to have Skinner make another one and take it. because he's the only one who could.
It's so weird. I don't know why I looked
Or
at
they
it
would
as
have to.
because I guess I was thinking like, oh, they're not going to be able, like, they're going to die out. I guess I was going
Mhm.
super romantic with it. Like, they can't make new vampires like them. They're going to be all of these different vampires that they're threatened
Which
by.
is a good,
And they want
a
to
fun
kill
idea
them
too.
because they're threatened by
Sure.
them. But it's like, no, we're the younger generation. Right? I was looking at it generationally.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I hadn't thought of it that way. Like I thought of it your way, Josh, where it was like Skinner is a different kind of person because he was like this rough and tumble Wild West dude. And that's what made him different. But I think storyline wise, that CM's idea is more fun. I think that would be a more interesting story.
Kind of you two to say that my confusion was interesting. I just feel dumb for taking such a weird turn.
The lines, I don't remember where they happen, but what locked kind of my view of it was that at one point, one of the vampires refers to America as a feeding ground.
Mhm.
That there is never an intention to create new vampires. It almost, I took it the extra step and was like, so they vacation in America? It's like an all-you-can-eat
Yeah.
inclusive resort, and then they go back to their countries. Like, if that's what they are seeing this place as. So that's why my brain went down that path.
Well, okay, then let's follow that thought down, because that's really cool, because the feeding ground of America, the time period that this is taking place in is like old-timey West, where it was a lawless land, basically. And so these vampires from other countries where people know about that vampires might be real, there are superstitions about them, maybe. I mean, have you seen Nosferatu? Yes.
No.
I know that
Yeah.
CM has, because we
Only
haven't.
once, though.
But like Orlok says, he's like, oh, I want to come to America where they do not have superstitions. They do not have traditions that could protect them. So the vampires coming over here to just not eat indiscriminately, it makes sense to me. It just feels right that like Skinner Sweet would be the first one to turn and be something different because they were careless. And as America is growing and gaining, becoming a less wild place, there's a new kind of vampire for
Yeah, I like that too.
society. And I think that's neat.
This story's so fun.
It is.
I think vampires are cool.
Vampires rule.
Yeah.
So before
The Lost Boys?
they relinquish Hattie to her, and we think things are going to be all right. But before they attack her, instead, Hattie attacks Pearl, stabs her in the back with a knife, which again, we're on a moonless night.
In more ways than one.
Oh, yeah. And that's the reveal that Hattie works cleanup for these vampire parties.
And we, I don't know how, I can't remember how much we talked about this, but we at least alluded to it. It puts everything about their relationship and all of these, the way Hattie would react to things and the comments that she made in a completely different light.
See, I wonder, though, at what point did they turn Hattie? Because I don't believe that she was a vampire when they went to the party.
No, she turns herself later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind then.
Well, I also missed that the first time through.
Yeah.
And I thought she had been turned and we missed it somehow.
Yeah, I thought that too.
It was on my second read when I was making notes where I was like, oh, fuck, it was right there.
Evie said it last episode, comics probably require, depending on how you read them, multiple reads. Because I think
agree.
I'm just going to read all the text.
Especially
and
if you
then-
have ADHD like me. I can't focus enough on one panel.
And Hattie says, I don't remember if it's here or at a later point, basically tells Pearl, like, I did this because I'll never be as strong as you. Like, it's later when she does this. For right now, Pearl, despite having been stabbed, tries to fight these vampires. It doesn't go well. They throw her off a goddamn mountain. Thankfully, Henry's there and can scoop her up and toss her in the car, and they can get the fuck out of there.
Do you think Henry has a magic truck? Because in the first section, he just, when they go looking for Pearl, they just find her in the desert.
Well, but that's because Hattie knew where she was.
I like my idea better.
Well, also, how did
I
he get there?
complimented your idea.
She stole Henry's car. How did he get there?
Oh,
He took someone else's car.
magic shoes.
You're right,
Now
Eve.
we're on.
Thank you.
Yes, and
I just tricked myself into supporting a worse idea.
My plan all along.
Pearl ends up shooting some vampires with Henry's gun as they try to follow. And with dawn approaching, they are safe, and Henry allows Pearl to feed off of her so that she can regain her strength. Yeah.
This was scary hot.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, especially because it's her first feeding. Like, you don't know how,
is she
she
gonna lose?
devoured Chase.
Is she going to lose control
Yeah.
and kill him? And
That's
we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, we shouldn't do this.
Oh,
it's
don't
so
bite.
bad.
Don't bite me.
Wait, do you want me to bite you?
No.
You're smiling. And in what is treated like a much heavier reveal, at the very end of it, she's like, "Stay out of this. It's my fight, not yours." And he pulls out dog tags that shows he was a Marine, and he's like, "I know about fighting for something."
You mentioned last episode that we would come back to him serving.
Yes.
Is that...
So I'm confused if this is supposed to be a big it feels like a big reveal because it's the end of the issue, but part of me also wants to be like, yeah.
All
right.
Okay, I want to be fair to something, though, with stuff like that, because I think we often have this reaction too. It's because our generation has a different relationship with service and war, and so I feel like older authors include that as more of a relevant or really important element that we just can't quite relate to the same way.
I just realized it's because up until now, all we know of him is that he plays in a blues band and has told stories about bumming around the country. So it just clicked to me that this is the indication that he's more than just...
He's not a drifter.
He's not just a blues playing guitar player.
Yeah. There's a reason that he's having a chill life right now.
And in our final act of Pearl's solo arc, Curtain Call, we have Pearl and Henry preparing for battle as they are going to rip apart the studio with all of the Hollywood vampires. And this is where we see Hattie, who has now become the new lead of this movie. We see her signing an autograph, and from the shadows, Pearl asks if she can sign one more. But Pearl shows up ready to start this revenge tour, and we get a few glimpses of Hattie. She turns into an American vampire herself, and then reveals that after she stabbed her in the back, she kept the knife, and when she went home, she cut her own wrists with the bloody knife and turned herself.
And it was an intentional act.
It was intentional.
It was not like she was...
She wasn't remorseful.
Yeah.
That would be such a funny short story. Someone that tries to kill themselves and accidentally achieves immortality.
That's so dark. Wow. I like, though, Pearl, I was shocked to find out that Hattie, because like we said, we were so into this beautiful friendship that finding out that she was a vampire made me so sad. That not that she was a vampire, but that she betrayed her. Because I think being a vampire is cool and would have done the same.
You'd stab me in the back to be a vampire?
No, I would, but I would take you, I'd stab you. I'd just make a little cut and then I'd just grab it and be like, mine.
You're a good friend.
No, I like, though, that Pearl stabs her back in a way cooler way.
Yeah.
She rips that star, Hattie's star, the one she wanted so badly that she would do literally anything, rips it off the door and shoves it right through her eye and face.
Through her mouth.
Oh, it's her mouth. Yes. Oh, that's even better. Oh, I forgot, because she's got
she's got Joker smile.
smile?
The Glasgow smile. Yeah.
We last had that in Children of the Night.
Oh my God.
I love a villain with distinctive facial scars.
Yeah, later on when she covers it up, I'm like, No, it's cool. I want to,
Right?
like, because Hattie's beautiful, and for like a beautiful woman to have just this, or maybe I just think scars are cool. I don't know.
I 1,000% think scars are cool. No one else, does anybody else like ever fantasized about having a big cool ass face scar?
I think you're jealous that you don't have a scar on your face too.
When I was a kid, I'd be like, well, also I grew up in the 90s, so like every badass character just had a fucking scar like over their eye, and it's the coolest fucking look in the world.
And a flannel tied around their waist while also wearing a leather jacket.
And a bunch of pouches.
On the beach that night, Pearl and Henry decide that they're gonna run away. They're gonna leave this place all behind, start a new life, and they're actually at kind of like a pier with rides and restaurants.
It gave
and
me
stuff.
very Lost Boys vibes.
And Henry walks away, and Skinner Sweet approaches, and we get another meeting with Skinner and Pearl.
And he's cool in this meeting.
He is.
Yeah, this is one where you're like, what is your motive? Like, what is it that is your goal? Because he interacts with Pearl pretty much every time they interact. He's like, yeah, I know more than I'm telling you. I don't know why he speaks in that voice. He's a cowboy. But I don't know, because she's like, you're here to kill me, aren't you? And he says, yeah, I could do that.
I thought about it.
I thought about it. I could rip your head off or whatever. But nah, I'm interested. I'm gonna see how this plays out. That's pretty much it.
But it's the way he, like, what he's saying is shitty. He's a piece of shit. But he weirdly, it seems like he's treating her with respect. I wouldn't call that respect normally, but the way we see him interact with literally everybody else, I can't
the way
think of
shitty
a single,
tough guys show respect.
Yeah, I can't think of a single other character we see him talk to in this that he even seems remotely like, oh, you're my equal. Or
She's his only child.
Yeah, I guess
they're like taking what we have of vampire lore that's either implied or from other media. There's always a connection between the sire and the
It's interesting because he doesn't, like, they don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We assume that, but I wouldn't be surprised too if he didn't have that feeling.
So we're gonna leave Pearl for a while, and we are going to jump into a whole cloth new story.
It's so fucking cool.
Given what we had read so far, going from leaving Pearl to Devil in the Sand, what were your thoughts? Did you think that we were going to be jumping around time a lot across a bunch of issues? Because that's the first idea I got was, are we just going to explore a lot of smaller stories?
I was excited because it's such a jarring shift. And at first, when this new story starts out, there's a man walking in a town, walking through the snow with this big backpack on, and a woman approaches him and hears something in the backpack, and she says, oh, a baby, and she lifts up the pouch and screams. And then we time jump back 6 months?
Yep.
But you're immediately like, I don't know if you guys felt this way, where you're like, is this a character we know? Because
I did that, yeah.
Because he's like grizzled, and I don't think you see his face. I don't think they say his name yet.
In that beginning,
No. So you're like, okay, this is obviously some other times, the other characters.
This time jump takes us to 1936. So we are 16 years after where we've just left Pearl. So it's a pretty good jump.
It is. This whole story is my favorite part of the book.
Yeah?
It turns into this kick-ass noir story.
Yeah.
Because this is in Lakeview, right?
Yes. It's in Las Vegas, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We meet him in Colorado at the beginning with the backpack.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay. But no, this is in early Las Vegas at the time they're building the Hoover Dam. And it is, like I said earlier, it's a more or less lawless city. There's violence. We see some guys just break into a store and try to rob a store.
It's like the start of what we know as modern day Las Vegas, where it is a place they're allowing all of these elements that wouldn't be allowed in other towns because they've got all these workers here building the dam, and so they're trying to just keep this thing going and maximize their profits.
They wanted to give people an outlet for how they're, because they talk about the fact that no one company could have made the Hoover Dam. It's just too big an expense. So several companies came together, pooled their resources, and are all doing it. So Las Vegas is 90% workforce right now. So they temporarily allowed prostitution and gambling and all of the vices to be here, and they never went away.
And it's all being held together by the one good cop. Right?
Yep.
I'll leave that be. Our main character, Cashel, what is it?
McCogan?
Right. Cash.
Who
walks into this robbery and kicks some ass. And he's like, it's my day off. I'm going to take these two in. And I'm like, this guy's cool.
Yeah. And he brings these people in. And of course, the front desk is giving him shit for working on his day off because he's the chief of police. So everybody knows who
There's
he is.
also a lot of like mild, old timey Irish racism.
Yes, there is. There's some of that. And there's a comment he makes about how understaffed they are because of the kind of lawless nature of Las Vegas right now. And luckily, his prayers have been answered because the two federal agents he's been begging for have finally arrived, Jack Straw and Felicia Book.
Abelina's daughter, not Pearl.
Yeah.
Which we last saw Felicia as a child.
Ready to kill.
Yeah. Ready to fuck shit up.
Her relationship with everybody is definitely interesting.
I'm going to just go ahead and spoil the point of fact that they are not actually federal agents. We will very soon find that out. What do you think of their choice to come in undercover as federal agents?
Maybe I misunderstood this because they're basically Van Helsings.
Yes.
But it is a real, like, legit organization.
Yeah, the vassals of the Morning Star.
Yeah. So I guess I was treating it as a branch of law. And so for some reason, I didn't interpret their undercover as, I thought it was undercover in that they weren't going to tell them exactly, the truth about the organization, because who would believe that? But I still thought they had the authority they were claiming to have.
I did think it was a bit of a Men in Black situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, as it goes on, you find out that, nope, just vampire hunters.
Yeah, I was just pretty sure it was full clandestine. So you would want to keep all that top secret. What kicked all this off was at the very beginning of the story, we see a very large man having sex with a prostitute because it's Vegas. And the prostitute leaves, and then a big winged creature comes tearing in.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
When that happened, I was like, oh, this book surprised me. And of course, like, they are giving us different types of vampires. So yeah, you're going to include some winged ones,
Hell
right?
Yeah. You're gonna put a night flyer in there.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
How would you describe the body they find when they all arrive at the Peabody Hotel?
Fucking gross.
Diminished.
The body that is sucked dry is Howard Ballou, who is one of the people who is part of the consortium. That's what they call this group of investors, the owners of construction companies who've put all their stuff together. And Straw and Book are immediately on the vampire hunt, whereas Cash is he brings up the bellhop, finding out who was the last person in and out, all of those things. And by finding out who was the last person to see him alive, that means we got to go to a whorehouse.
And of course, it's going to be run by Skinner Sweet.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
Because they're saying,
because he acts like such a, I don't want to be involved in any of this crap.
Exactly. Yeah. And in every instance up before this, when we meet people in power, people with money, it's the old school vampires.
That's also true.
But there's this new city, this new kind of city that and what's the name of the guy that they say that they're taking them to? Because they mention Mr. his pseudonym.
Yeah, he has a...
And when they mention that, Cash is like, oh, fuck, I don't want to deal with this dude. I'll fucking hit him. And so I was like, oh, who is this guy? I wasn't expecting Skinner Sweet.
That was the moment where I finally realized, okay, these are all gonna stay connected to the Pearl and Skinner story. I was convinced we were whole cloth new territory. So yes, Mr. Smoke. Mr. Smoke is the name that is Skinner Sweet goes by. So they show up to the Frontier, which is the name of this brothel, and Sweet just plays with them. He runs them around. Yeah, he's got no interest in engaging and kind of dismisses them.
And he and Cash have a beef.
Mm-hmm. And also there's they asked to talk to that particular prostitute, and Skinner's like, she's not here. She might be dead. I don't know. Very dismissive.
Okay, the way he is in this scene is when I was like, for sure, definitely he sucks shit.
Mm-hmm. But they can't leave peacefully. Before they leave, Felicia has some things to say to Sweet.
She loses it.
Essentially, she lets him know, you're a monster, and I'm not done with you.
Do you think it's wise for her to immediately give up who she is, basically?
Nope. Not even a little.
To someone who is very conniving, too, which she should know. I would think her mom would have hammered that into her head, too, along with, let's kill him.
After they leave, Felicia starts yelling at Cash for going so easy on him, and Cash says, I'm the chief of police. Do you want to know who the last chief of police was? My dad, who adopted me and crossed that guy, and he's dead now. And I'm not going easy on him. I'm waiting for the time to take him down.
He's gone forever.
We'll never see him.
He can never hang out in his favorite cave ever again.
When we get to that was some nuts shit, and I loved it.
Yes.
Because they hang out outside that cave when he the flashback when he says they're pregnant. Oh my God.
There's a flashback where Cash is hanging out with his dad in a random cave. And he's like, Dad, you sure do love this fucking cave.
Oh,
and he's like,
God.
Yeah, I do.
I just figured since they're in the desert, like maybe you hang out in caves sometime.
Exactly.
I would.
Jesus, that's crazy. So after the dust has settled, Cash calls them out. They reveal they're not the FBI. They are members of this vampire hunting organization. They know that Smoke is actually a vampire named Skinner Sweet, and they are here to keep an eye on him and hopefully kill him. They are actually working on a plan right now to kill him.
This is reminiscent of all the stuff with Book, too. Mm-hmm. Like you've this reluctant to believe lawman who gets sucked in anyway.
We also find out that the vassals have made an immunity deal with Skinner, much like the vampires did with Skinner. So honestly, I think Skinner's just making the right move.
And
just making alliances with everybody.
The most successful vampire.
Right. Oh my God, when Sweet shows up in Felicia's hotel room and just like, I smell him on you. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Gross.
This is another reason I don't think Book is actually dead. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think he's gonna come back sometime.
He's gonna be a daddy in a cave.
I hope he comes back as a ghost, and then the whole thing like expands to where the like 6th volume, Pearl's hanging out with a Frankenstein and a Booberry.
Booberry.
Or would his ghost be a vampire ghost?
Oh, sounds like a magic card.
So the next day they head to Hoover Dam to speak with another one of the investors, because obviously somebody is targeting the consortium, and he evades every question they have. He's playing coy about who runs things,
not taking it seriously at all.
And he goes inside. He's like, give me 1 sec. Goes into his trailer, calls somebody. He's like, we're fucked. And then winged vampire.
Hell yeah. Sneaks in through the window and rips this dude apart while the cops are standing outside.
While the other two are explaining to Cash what vampires are outside. They're like trying to give him, even though he doesn't believe it, they're like, here's everything you need to know. You got to be careful, be safe. What the fuck was that sound? And the office is covered in blood. It's amazing. Now we're going to jump over to California, Arrowhead, California, where the second prong of the vassal strike is happening. CM?
Yeah, we get to come back to Pearl and Henry. Sorry, I don't remember the order of this because we're covering it differently. Are we just talking about the visit, or are we getting into their life together? Is that later?
That's later.
Okay. So for right now, they're meeting with Pearl to confront her, but also ask for her help.
Hey, what can kill you?
Yeah, it's
so
really weird. And she's being nice. And this also colored my view of Sweet too, because I like Pearl and
Mhm.
I respect her, and they're mostly after him, and they're trying to basically be like, you work with us, all we care about is him, and we will leave you alone. If you don't, we're gonna make your life hell. And she will not turn on him. She's like, yeah, I know he's a piece of shit, but I have this loyalty to him, and I don't feel good about this.
Also, she's just like outright. She's like, "I'll tell you, and then you'll kill me."
Right.
Like,
Yeah, well, she's very practical too.
yeah. Because isn't this the part where the guy
I think
says
they
he's
come at it so bad with her.
he's like, yeah. The guy goes, "Yeah, no, I need to work with you because I need to kill Sweet." But once that's done, yeah, I will come after you to kill you too.
Help me do the right thing.
Yeah, you're a monster. And she's like, then this is a bad pitch.
And I do love that though, like in these stories, specifically with vampires or any creature like that, when the authors or the filmmakers play with that idea of like ultimate good and labeling them a monster. And I always feel if I encountered something, even if it was dangerous, that was so otherworldly, it's like if a bear attacks me and kills me, don't kill the bear. I'm the idiot that was by the bear. Like, it's just an animal. I don't know. I just like that storyline because it's like, who are you to say that a vampire doesn't have right to be a vampire like the rest of us are what we are?
And she tells them this, but it turns out they already know because they've been keeping tabs on her. She hasn't killed a human being
Well, yeah,
in
this is
11
where
years.
we find out because she's eating animals, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and sometimes Henry.
Yeah.
A very graphic scene of them boning.
Yeah, there is. Later that night, after Pearl has rejected their offer, and they say, we're going to stay in town a couple days. If you change your mind, we're here.
She doesn't change her mind, but Henry does. This made me worried for him again. I was like, oh no.
Eve, did you think he was going to die right here?
Oh, absolutely. No, every step of the way, it's like, my dude, you're
always in danger.
You're too good. Like, and especially once we get into their relationship and it starts the part where she is like monologuing about their relationship and how much she thinks, she's like, some nights I just look at him and I'm like, fuck it, I should do it. I should turn him, but I can't do that because I love him. And then it switches to him and he's like, every night I like think about asking her to turn me, but I know that would be hurtful for her. And I'm like, no, they love each other.
Assholes doing that to us.
Oh, you're dead as hell, man.
You're so dead. I hope he dies cool. Abelina then calls her daughter to say, Gold will kill Skinner Sweet. Get on it. And so we jump back to Vegas and 5 vampires check into the Peabody. Sounds like the start of a joke, but it is not. A group of new vampires come in and while checking out, they're on their way. I believe they're headed back to the Hoover Dam when all of a sudden a car falls from the sky and explodes in front of them. Winged vampires back at it, baby.
Yeah, this is my favorite one because the cops are talking about, they're like, we got to get to these other two. They're going to run.
The other consortium
They're
guy,
going to get out of town because it's the only, like, obviously they're being targeted. And it cuts to this dude in the back of a limo being like, we got to get the fuck out of here. I'm so fucking dead. And then a thing swoops out of the sky. And what short story is that? Grandma? No.
Popsy?
Popsy.
Oh, yeah.
They get Popsy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good pull.
Yeah.
And this is when they find out that there are not 4 members of this consortium. There are, in fact, 5. And it is the old vampires that are the big money.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, I can't remember exactly how they're kind of facing off in it, but it's just before Cash is going to try to take out this guy when all of a sudden his dad is there, kind of naked.
Yeah.
It's very, I thought I missed something.
I did too.
Right. Because he shows up and honestly, it's such a smart strategy by him to completely throws Cash off, seeing him alive and fine. And we get a flashback to how he was adopted. At this time, they were taking orphans on a train.
Nobody wanted him.
Nobody wanted him because he was a little runt. And then his dad came up to him and basically said,
we could use a deputy.
yeah. So here we go. And so he's been a cop his whole life.
And that was cute. I liked seeing his origin.
It was also so crazy because I went
the
back because of the cave. I went back to just verify I wasn't insane. The dad never changes. He never looks older. And it's like, oh my God, it's so obvious now.
That's funny.
Yeah. So after he reveals himself as a vampire and then kills this guy and takes off.
And he's a different kind of vampire from the ones we've met so far.
He is the Gaelic prime species of vampire.
He's a man bat.
Yes, he is.
Which I kind of feel like, okay, that's the one I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool.
But I like that this is the point where Cash turns to the other two and is like, all right, vampires exist. And they thought that this type of vampire had been long extinct. Had
Also,
not been
what
seen.
made me think of it as like an evolution generational thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep reminding everybody of my dumb idea.
The agents prepare brass weapons because they know that is the weakness of the Gaelic vampire.
Seems like that guy's being helpful, though.
I love their little bullet casings like kit.
Yeah.
She opens up because they're like, okay, it's this kind of vampire, and they open up this little like satchel and they start making bullets specifically with that's a cool bit. I like that.
I think that vampire hunters are cool, but
Hell
I
yeah.
hate them because I love vampires. So
And Cash drives them straight to the cave because he knows exactly where his dad's got to be hiding out. And Cash decides he needs to go in alone, tells them, give me a minute. That's my dad. And what do we find is inside the cave?
Bones.
Bones.
Specifically, the bones of his adopted grandma, grandma.
Adopted grandma.
It's his dad's vampire mate who died so long ago that she's fossils.
Yeah, he puts her in the wall. It's fucking awesome.
it's so romantic.
That's vampires' thing.
I know. It worked.
Yeah.
You think all might end well, but then the 5 vampires showed up. Well, they're able to talk it out. Like there could be a peaceful resolution here. But then Skinner shows up and side saddles up by our Gaelic vampire and is like, hey, let's fuck these guys up. And they do. Everybody joins in a big fight.
It's gory.
It's cool.
The one vassal is killed, Felicia is bitten, and the vampire that bites her recoils in disgust and like asks,
what's wrong?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what are you?
What are you? And then is shot in the head by Skinner. The battle is won. The good guys win. And as a farewell to everybody, Skinner shoots the Gaelic vampire in the head with a brass bullet.
Ugh, he's such a dick.
But luckily, Felicia made a gold bullet while she was making munitions and shoots Skinner, and he freaks the fuck out.
I was like, what the fuck was that? Do you think he knows? Does he know
he has
what
to
is?
know now.
Well, yeah.
I think last episode we speculated that he doesn't know either.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
I think that has to be untrue, only because I can't imagine not having interacted with any gold. Like, I mean, I guess they can touch it.
It has to be inside of you, probably.
That makes sense.
I'm proud of us all for letting that pass.
We all took a beat and we went.
I don't know how else to say it.
Now it's time to hunt down Skinner. They've wounded him. They go after him. And as they enter the frontier, we know Skinner's got a thing with wives. He's got Cash's. And he has a vial. He has a needle of his blood held to her belly.
She's pregnant.
And she is very pregnant.
This is fucked.
Yeah. So thoughts on this standoff?
I had forgotten that we opened this story 6 months. 6 months, right? In the future.
Same.
Yeah. And so I had hope for just a moment.
Yeah, because like immediately my first thought is, well, obviously they're not going to hurt the baby. There's a really tense standoff and Skinner's like, I'll fucking do it. I don't care. And if I remember correctly, we don't see the end of that standoff. We don't find out what happened until we go forward 6 months again, or however long.
We Skinner flees to a train station. He hides under a train, which is great. And we find out that Lily, his wife, Cash's wife, died from complications in childbirth. And we jump back to 6 months later in Colorado, where Cash is dedicating his life to finding a cure for his son.
A cure. Sorry, I don't know why that struck me.
I remember it's in some vampire lore, the danger of like changing a child is extremely dangerous because they have no impulse control.
Anne Rice.
Anne Rice,
that,
that's
yeah.
what it was.
Well, I was going to say, they also
It's
have a
not
bit about
allowed.
it in What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, really?
That's fucked up. Like, you can't do that. Yeah.
That's wild. And maybe we'll find out where that story goes in later issues. So now we're going to explore our final arc, The Way Out. And we don't know where we are when we open because we are with Hattie.
I love when a piece of media has, its main character. I love the thing where a big ensemble cast takes a full episode to drill down on like a minor character and gives them an entire episode to like flesh them out. It's one of my favorite things.
Now, we also find out this is also same time, 1936. So it's been 11 years since the events of our first acts. And every so many nights, Hattie is she remains chained up in this room, and a vampire comes in and injects her with whatever's in the case that day. They are just periodically trying new things.
This is what we accidentally talked about a little bit last episode. And this guy is, like you said, just torturing her basically, which we don't really feel too sympathetic towards her over. But, my idea of like, well, just do it on one, make another one. Well, she made herself, but and I love how this ends though, how this wraps up with them, because we get her internal monologue and she's basically just like waiting for her time to escape, and she's playing along and she's indulging him because if he'll show up drunk sometimes and then he'll give her bits of information and she's paying attention. And then finally one night she gets her hands on the cork of the bottle of wine or whatever she has.
Champagne, it's New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and he's like, hey,
and he's drunk.
let's...
Yeah,
and he comes in all like, hey, I'm going to toast you. Like, let's have fun tonight. I mean, it's going to suck here in a minute because I'm going to torture you, but Happy New Year's. And she ends up using that because wood to kill him and escape. And it made me be like, Hattie's cool.
It shows how like cold and calculating she is.
It's like, ooh, is she going to be a good villain?
Yes.
I think so.
And the answer is very much yes. Because she re-enters society.
Imagine coming into the world 11 years gone, especially that gap in 1920 to 1930, a lot of advancement.
She's embracing it though. We see her. she adapts well.
She finds a gas station and robs it and burns it down and kills the people inside it.
She goes very Skinner sweet.
She really does. She kills a makeup lady and takes her makeup so she can cover the scars on her face.
That one's like, don't do that. Just let it be. It's cool.
Yeah, and we leave Hattie in pursuit. And we jump back to Henry and Pearl. Thoughts on before we get to the club, because they go out this night to a jazz club, getting back in their life.
It's so sweet.
Feel good?
Yeah, it feels good. They have such a nice relationship with one another, and you can tell she's a vampire, but they're like this old married couple who've been together for 80 years, and they're gonna die holding hands at the same time.
Notebook style.
Yeah.
So they go to this bar, have a great night. It turns out, the guy who owns the bar was somebody that used to book Henry. And so Henry gets on stage and they have a good time and they have the best night. And the club owner, Little Feet Beal, says, if you want more gigs, holler at me, just come on back. And he's like, no, we have our life. It's quiet. It's fine. And on the way out, they just kind of discuss like, you can, if you want to, go for it. And he's like, you know what? I think I will. And marches back in, throws open the back door thinking, should probably find some gambling, maybe some drugs. Nope. What do they find back there?
This is a setup. This guy is grooming musicians for his vampire friends.
And man, when Pearl finds out, she goes apeshit.
So satisfying to see her just rip this place apart.
She,
It's like, oh, you guys didn't know that his vampire wife is outside.
This section, I think, is my favorite part of this whole series.
Cool.
Because through the panels where she is ripping this room, all these people to pieces, you're getting her internal monologue where she is having this internal conflict. On one hand, she is really scared that Henry is going to see this and see how much she likes it. She's having a really good time doing this.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
It's like, she's so cool.
Like,
I wish there was a single thought bubble of Henry being like, fuck, that's hot. So he's super
I think it's safe
into
to say
it.
he thought that.
we would never get that thought bubble because he's not there anymore. Little Feet Beale tried to beat his little feet, and Henry chases him down. So by the time she's killed everybody, Henry's gone.
That scared me.
Did you think Henry was dead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From here, it really bounces back and forth between Hattie and Henry, so let's just stay with Henry right now. The car chase ends with Henry's car on fire, and the cars go off a cliff, and Henry and Beale manage to jump out of their cars before they land and explode. And Pearl, who is close behind, sees the explosion, assumes Henry is dead, like we all did. And when we get to them, Beale's about to shoot Henry. Like, you could have had something. We could have even worked together, maybe. Too bad. Classic villain bullshit. And Pearl slices his head off. Just
love it.
Clean as a whip.
Yeah, it's
No
like
fanfare.
it's like the scene from Indiana Jones with the sword man.
There's no drawback to dating a vampire.
Not a single one.
Nope.
And this is kind of where they have that conversation, Eve, you mentioned earlier, of the Henry's mortality. They both have to accept Henry is mortal, especially after a night like this. And what does that mean for them? What are the options? And that's where we are going to leave them for a little bit. Meanwhile, Hattie, like I said, kills the gas station people, takes that lady's makeup so she can cover her Joker face. Hattie stalks Pearl to the house. We see them leave and come back to this house. And she's outside because she flashes back to this memory where they took this big black gramophone to the beach, played records, and just had this amazing time here. And Pearl made an offhand comment that someday she was going to retire here. So this is where she's going to start looking. Turns out, Hattie sees a black gramophone in the window of a house. So it's time to break in and kill some folk.
Scares the crap out of just a nice couple.
Yeah, we were like, oh no, she lived here before us, and she even let us keep this nice gramophone. Isn't that great? It almost got our heads ripped off.
And they sold, I noticed this on my second read, they sold the house and moved in January when Hattie escaped. What are the odds?
It's so cool the way this is set up too, because I totally I didn't know because they didn't establish that time difference for us. It's like, oh, neat.
So Hattie presumably kills this old couple, takes the gramophone in the car, and revenge is in her heart.
I'm gonna say she didn't kill the old couple.
Oh no, she definitely killed
I'm
them.
gonna try to make Hattie a good guy again.
Let's go ahead and rate this bad boy.
This is awesome. It was fun to read. I'm going to have to read it again because I clearly missed some things, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Comics are so much fun. Highly recommend 5 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
I'm a completionist when it comes to comics, so rating it at this point feels wrong. But for this one particular volume, I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
I'm not going to buy this issue by issue because, like Eve, I also forget things all the time. But I will buy this entire series as it comes out in trade paperbacks. 5 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
And that is it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. As always, thank you for listening. Join us for our next episode where we will be covering sports. It's March Madness time. For Joshua Kahn and Eve Gatto, I'm CM Alexander reminding you, to lovers, an hour can last a century, but even for lovers, every hour ends. Hey everyone, CM Alexander here. Thank you for listening to American Vampire Part 2. We hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who are local, starting February 21st, the Circa 21 Speakeasy is hosting a live stage version of Misery. You can get your tickets online or by calling the Circa 21 ticket office. You don't want to miss this. I have a preview of what you can expect for March Madness at the end here, so don't go away. But before we get to that, you can follow us on social media by searching Derry Public Radio. You can email us at derrypublicradio@gmail.com, and you can chat with us and other King and horror fans on our Discord. The link for that is in the show notes. You can also get bonus episodes on our Patreon at the $5 and up tier, and fun merch on our Etsy. Search Derry Public Radio on both those platforms. And with that out of the way, here's some March Madness for you.
I printed you both out. Both of you
March
have
Madness.
rosters.
Thank you. This is gibberish to me. I don't even understand
I
this.
do-
I don't know why you bothered.
I don't know how to read it. I don't know how it works. You've
I'm not
never done
looking
one
at-
before.
I'm not looking at this.
I know neither of you will.
There's...
But this year, when we go on mic and you don't know what to do, I'll be able to say, remember when I gave you all the bracket?
What a wasted effort you've gone through. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.